It's as if we have actors in the audience. Woo! So hi everyone, I'm Kristin Dos Santos with E! News, and I am here with Sherry Thomas and Russell Scott and Sharon Bialy, as I'm sure you all know. The geniuses who were part of what makes this show so fantastic. Their casting vision really made Handmaid's Tale what it is. I don't know if you've heard, but the show's doing okay. It swept the Emmys, it swept the Golden Globes, and it won 3 awards at the Critics' Choice tonight. So, doing pretty well. And this really was the show that put Hulu on the map as far as original programming. They just released new stats that 17 million users are now hooked into Hulu, which is pretty amazing. So my first question is, how does it feel to be a part of something like this from the beginning and to see it become something that is this huge success?
I think for us, it's extraordinary. And first of all, thank you for doing this with us tonight and being here. It's funny because we get a script and they say, are you interested? And we say, sure, we'll take a look at it. And we read the script independently. I think I was at home and Russell was in the office and Sharon might have been in our other remote office at the time. And all of a sudden, we started texting each other and calling each other and going, oh my God, did you read it? Did you read it? You know, holy, it's amazing. And we have to go in and we have to get this thing. So I think we realized off the page how special it was and that it was not only going to be a creative challenge and a joy to cast, but it was very timely for, I think, what we're experiencing in today's world. So it feels incredible.
I think I texted you as soon as I read the scene with the ceremony.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And you had, I mean, this was the kind of script, as you watch the pilot, you had to put it down for a second and just take a breath, go back and oh my God, are they really doing this? And, you know, you started to see this world. And then once we, you know, went and met and got the job, the work started and we were able to really collaborate and create this world that had no boundaries, which is the most exciting thing for us to do.
How much direction were you given? I know Elizabeth Moss was attached to the project from the get-go, but as far as the rest of the handmaids and the rest of the cast, did you feel like it was just wide open? And how did that all come together? Who came next?
And Dowd. Day 2. Sorry, just had to jump in there on that one. I'm a little cray-cray for some Ann Dowd.
And Ann was the first person we cast, which was, you know, kind of not the normal role you would cast first. She's not, you know, normally what they studio and network want to cast the love interest and the big names and all that stuff first. But we've all been in love with Ann Dowd for a long time, and
started on a Monday. She was cast on a Friday.
Yeah.
There was no stopping us, and Sherry Thomas is such a huge Ann Dowd fan that when I went to New York and saw her in an off-Broadway play, I waited till after so I could take a picture and tease Sherry. I'm with Ann Dowd.
But I did witness backstage that Sherry found out that she's going to be presenting at the SAG Awards, and it was like a 12-year-old
The Artios
girl.
Awards.
Oh, sorry, the Artios Awards.
Yeah, the actual casting director awards.
But I have to say, you know, someone like Ann Dowd finally got her props at the Emmy Awards, and I think for so many people who have loved her for so long, to see her up there getting something that she has worked so hard for so long, was that like super emotional for you guys to see her up on that stage?
Yeah. All 3 of us were choked up. We really were, because as you know, actors they work really hard their whole career. Ann Dowd is a character actress. She's really slaved away in the theater, off-Broadway, all around the country, done great work on other television shows. And to see her, there is something special when you are recognized by your peers.
And an incredible human being. I mean, incredible human being. And so it all just sort of comes together and it makes it even sweeter. And, you know, in my
we love when we're able to cast an actor who hasn't found fame or those sorts of things and give them that one role that's, you know, puts them on the next level and they're winning awards like Endowed and things like that. It's
Something
so
that I
to
love.
answer the question,
Oh, yeah.
it was a blank slate, and we had no pressure from our producers, from our studio or network, which is very unusual. It was a blank slate in terms of diversity. We were like, well, can this person be black? Yeah, we don't care. It was the most refreshing thing, and they were incredibly respectful and filled with trust for our creative contribution. So when you get into that situation, I think you rise up and do your best work. So there were actors that were cast that people knew but had never seen them do this kind of work. And we stood by those actors and they trusted us. And I think that's why the stars aligned and you saw something extraordinary.
Definitely. Now, one thing that I love about this show in particular, a lot of people I think have caught on to, is that we've seen a lot of actors in a totally different light than we've seen them before, particularly Alexis Bledel, Rory Gilmore, right? And Yvonne Strahovski, who some people knew from Chuck or maybe Dexter. But I think when we heard that Rory Gilmore was playing like this lesbian hardcore role in this dystopian drama, it was like, wait, that Alexis Bledel? Are you sure? And then when we saw her, of course, it so worked, and she won an Emmy for it. But how do you know, and how do you see that it's willing to take a risk? How do you see that in actors like that? Because I feel like a lot of casting directors and a lot of producers are afraid to show people a different side than we've seen before. You know, have so many actors that I think are frustrated that they're really pigeonholed in sort of one lane. And you've done it with Bryan Cranston, you did it with Andrew Lincoln. I mean, you've really been able to show people and let them sort of do a 180.
Well, I think that comes from us. We don't just work on the one project, on the one role. We are seeing actors all year long, and which turns into 5 years, which turns into 10 years, which turns into even longer. So you get a sense of somebody's body of work as opposed to that pigeonhole of what they've become famous for. And that's part of it. Our job never ends. We always have to be thinking. And so that is the beauty in the creative process for us, and thinking outside that box to say, you guys, you're going to think this is crazy, but what about? And then there is a pause, and sometimes an awkward pause. And then there's a conversation, and then again, it's the trust, of having them see it in a different way, in a different light. And
yeah, I think we try to resist typing people out and saying you can only do this and this and this, which is a very easy list to make when you're saying, oh, well, we want this type of person. And
Endowed has been on every list I've ever done, ever. Male, female, child, ever. It's like, ever.
Yeah. So
Isn't she up for Walter in Breaking Bad?
Yeah, as a matter of fact.
Male, female, it's just all Endowed all the time, right? Now, Sharon, I know with Yvonne Strahovski, you felt really strongly about her.
Well, to speak to what Sherry and Russell just said, it is our job to know an actor's body of work. So we kind of anticipate when you say a name, the reaction you're going to get. And I'm a theater nerd. Have always been a theater nerd and will remain a theater nerd the rest of my life. And I had seen Yvonne in 2 plays in New York, and this came out in the press, and it didn't sound nice, but I didn't like one of the plays she was in. And I still thought she was fantastic. I thought she rose above something that I didn't enjoy. So, it also shows not every play has to be great. So when something came up that they had seen her in Dexter and she didn't seem right, I think part of our job is to be able to speak to what we saw that is the antithesis of what the expectation is.
And this is an actress who, in television, had been offer only for many years because of the success that she had had. And when there was a conversation, it was, she doesn't care, she will come in and read. And so when you have that passion, and we had that with a lot of actors, there were a lot of people we tried to get in for Nick, for Max Minghella role, and it wasn't, when you see the pilot, there's not a lot of dialogue. So you have to be willing to see through that and understand that it's going to be elevated. And there are a lot of, I think, actors right now that are kicking themselves in the ass for not coming in and reading. And he came in and read.
Right. Part of our joy is, and I think part of the reason the casting is so strong in the entire ensemble and the season is we were collaborating, the three of us as a team. So there'll be times where one of us will go, no, she's too this. We'll fall into it ourselves, and I wouldn't say we fight amongst ourselves, but we do it with each other. Wait a minute, did you see this, this, and this? Wait a minute, did you see this, this, and this? And for me, my daughter grew up watching Gilmore Girls. So I saw every episode of Gilmore Girls at least 5 times.
That's a lot of dialogue.
It was a lot of Gilmore Girls in my home, so I was very familiar with Rory Gilmore. But when Bruce Miller, who's one of the creators of the show, spoke so passionately about what he was looking for in someone's eyes, I think that was the key for me to look into the soul of the character, that in Alexa's eyes are so incredible, and there's such soul underneath, just dying to come out, that I think, we were able to support it, especially after discussing it.
And ultimately we saw why those eyes were so important, right? Because her best work was when half of her face was covered.
Yeah, I don't think she even had any lines in that episode.
No, and said more with her eyes than some people do.
Yeah, we
in
like
7
casting
seasons.
actors who get Emmys who don't speak.
Mark Margolis.
Like
Mark Margolis.
Mark Margolis in Breaking Bad didn't say a word and got an Emmy. Ding, ding.
I'm curious about the chemistry on the show. For example, with Max Minghella, like, did he and Elizabeth Moss get into a room together, or was everybody cast really sort of on their
so
own?
much chemistry with him.
I did. Look, I think we were all in a room, in a very tiny audition room, no less, in the summer of 2016, and leading into 2017. And you know where I'm going with that. And so there were a lot of conversations, and anyway, when we read him, there was an energy that just sort of was in the room. And everyone, and I don't say this in a joking way, but everyone had chemistry with him because of what he was giving. So when somebody has the ability to do that, you know that they're going to have that with their star.
Absolutely. Is there anyone in particular that really either surprised you in the room or has surprised you with what they've done with what they've been given on the show?
I did not know Yvonne Strahovski's theater work like Sharon did. And when she came in the room to read, she just nailed it and understood the role in a way that we had not seen anyone else do it. It just made sense. And as soon as she walked out of the room, Bruce was like, well, what do you think? And I was like, I was not expecting that, and it was amazing. So that was really exciting.
Hey, Sharon knew what she was talking about.
She did.
And I think who surprised me was Madeline Brewer, who had no agent when she came in to read.
She had a manager.
She has a manager, but
Yeah.
no agent, and not a huge body of work. And we cried when she left. We cried at a lot of auditions.
One of the audition scenes for that role was in the episode singing to the baby after she has the baby, and she's singing to the baby, and they take the baby after she breastfeeds, and I mean, I get teary thinking about I really don't make it through the Handmaid's auditions very well without crying. But you just felt it. It was really deep. But I think the thing creating these ladies together was, some of them auditioned for multiple roles. We had, I think Madeline and Samira auditioned for. No, Samira only
auditioned for her
Moira,
part, yeah.
but Madeline auditioned for Moira and Janine. Because it was really, truly just sort of this canvas that you were painting and putting it together, and who would work with what and what elements and who would get what from each other.
Right. I love that. So in season 2, I would imagine there was a lot of interest much more than in season 1. And I would imagine you had some names reaching out, wanting to be a part of the show. How do you decipher, because I feel like with a lot of the programs, or a lot of the shows that you've done so well in, you don't tend to go for the big names, right? You're
That's
looking
why we
for the
never
quality.
win. Us.
Right. Which, by the way, that's a side note, but it must be a little frustrating when you're up against shows like Big Little Lies or True Detective or Fargo that are looking for stunt casting for just one season, and you're looking for actors that can stick around for 5 or 7 or 9 years or however long the show might go, right? It's a totally different animal, casting that type of show.
Yeah, it's more than staying around for 7 years. I think we just have a commitment to what's on the page, and we really want, and the vision of whoever created the show, and we really want you as an audience member to totally go into the world and feel something. So it can be difficult with some actors when they're known, like, oh, and look, they're all great, but I'm not going to pick. There's Barbara Streisand. Right. What is she doing in Gilead? So, and I think the 3 of us learned that from Vince Gilligan, who really taught us that it's about the world and believing those people in the world. I just, still remember him saying, I love Philip Seymour Hoffman, but what would he be doing in Albuquerque?
Because he was a big fan of the show. And
So we would get a lot of those calls.
May he rest in peace.
Yeah. And there are a lot of those calls, and you just have to decide who can blend and who is going to stand out, like Barbara Streisand.
Right, yeah. Has it been a different process putting together season 2, the new roles in season 2? I know we have Clea Duvall coming in.
is that out there?
How do you know that?
That's out there. That's
It's out there. Okay, we
Just
never know
kidding.
what
Okay,
we
good.
can say.
Yeah.
No, I saw the announcement. I'm just kidding.
That's out there. I think it's already out there that she's playing Alexis Bledell's.
Lover.
It's out. I mean, I don't think I'm spoiling anything. It was in the Hollywood Reporter. So let's say
Trying to make you nervous.
Yeah.
Everyone here has to
Death
sign
stare.
confidentiality agreements.
But how has the process been for this season compared to season 1?
For us, I don't think the process has changed much. I got to be honest. I think that we still read the script, have a concept call with the creators and the director of that particular episode. We sort of get a little bit of a direction, and then we go off on our creative process, and which includes making a list of those name-your names, if you will, people that would, just sort of get an offer and decide whether they want to come to us. Then we also are simultaneously reading actors at the same time. And from all over. I mean, we are having people self-tape in New York and Chicago and Boston and wherever we know that actor is that we remember and go, they would be great. And we, and we find them. So for us, the process hasn't changed much. I think that sometimes the appetite of others gets, a little bit expanded, and it's about a conversation.
I'm curious your thoughts on, this has been such a phenomenal year, in particular for television that is female-driven, and, we're seeing a lot of awards go to shows like The Handmaid's Tale and Big Little Lies. We're seeing a lot of more female producers and directors and strong female characters. This show, I feel like, is at the forefront of all of that. So what are your thoughts on that? It seems like things are changing, and yet do we still have a lot more work to be done?
Ladies.
I think we're holding up a mirror and giving a voice to something that hasn't been voiced in a long time. And that's very fulfilling to be a part of. And I don't think any of us thought how topical The Handmaid's Tale would be. That just was not expected. And, when you read the novel, which is from, I think, 29 years ago, you're just blown away by, she's a visionary. I think it's been very powerful in that we had a female director who did the first 3 episodes, who's amazing, Reed Morano, who, it was her first pilot, okay? Everybody should know that, and
True?
It is true.
Yes.
We had worked with her. We were very fortunate. She's a director of photography. And Melissa Bernstein, who's one of the executive producers of *Halt and Catch Fire*, Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad, championed her to direct one episode of *Halt and Catch Fire*. Wow. And from that one episode, she got this job. So
In her features. She had done her features in
yes,
the meantime?
she had done some very small features in between, but she had never directed a pilot. Had this been at the typical television network, I would assure you she would not have been approved. So
And that
it's
takes
kind
a
of exciting for everybody, I think, for actors, for all of us, to see someone who's talented get that break and then prove it to everyone. You know, and when you watch the pilot, you can see the hand of a director, how beautiful it is. It's just gorgeous. Yeah.
And she worked really, really hard to get that job, as we all did. I mean, you know, it isn't, she was attached as a director. I mean, she worked her ass off to get that job. You have to meet again, you have to meet again, and you have to talk about and show what you're going to do. And we went in and we met and we, you know, you just hope that you are going to give them what they're looking for, so that you can walk away and get that phone call.
What kind of reaction do you get from people when you tell them that you're casting directors on The Handmaid's Tale or that you worked on The Handmaid's Tale? It seems like, to me, it evokes like so many strong emotions in people. And has it been particularly rewarding just being a part of this project and seeing how it's affecting people and that it is so timely?
I think for me, on a personal level, I have 2 small kids. I have 2 daughters, 5 and 7. And when we started, they were 4 and 6. And so it all changed for me. And I had kids later than stereotypical. And I was, you know, happy-go-lucky, fun person and, you know, living my life. And then you have kids and the world starts to change and you see it with different eyes and reading the script. And I mean, it affects me on a really, really deep level of what could happen and what is happening and for some people. So it has changed for me personally in just meaningful content, really being a part of something that is saying something in the bigger picture, that is meaningful on so many levels. Not just the work, because this is really meaningful work that we're doing and we love it and we're a part, you know, we're creating something. We put these people together and that's like really effing cool. But for me, on a personal level, it shifted what I do, how I do it, and who I'm doing it for with my kids. I want them to watch that someday and go, wow, Mom, that's amazing, you know? And I want them to be strong women and to know that they have a choice and a voice and all of those things. So
They don't watch it yet, though, right?
they do not watch it yet. They can't watch any of my shows. Walking Dead, Handmaid's Tale,
I know.
nothing.
I was just happy I had a show my mother could watch besides the credits. Like, she just can't watch The Walking Dead. She just couldn't watch Breaking Bad. She watched the first episode and the last episode and said, that was good.
You all submitted some questions as well, so I'm going to get to some of those. Sage Ryan, this is a question for all 3 of you. Can you share something that an actor did in your audition room that really stood out to you in a positive way?
Haven't we hired Sage Ryan? No. Oh, it's a different Sage Ryan. The Sage I know is a little boy. That's not you.
It could be.
Is there something that stood out for you in the audition room, whether on this or something else? I think it happens quite a lot. I mean, just today, Russell turned to me after a fantastic theater actor who just happened to be in town, came in and read for something, and he was like, wow. By the way, 3 pages of dialogue, almost a monologue, completely off book. He got it yesterday while he was working 12-hour day, and he's over 65. Okay? So
No excuses to be unprepared.
I think what often moves us is when the actor comes in and it's all about the work and not about pleasing us or making us want to like them, but coming in with a point of view about what they are reading and what they are working on, and really just, whether they're right or wrong, committing to that point of view, irrespective of what I look like that day, who's in the room. It's about that. And what happens is we get lost in the moment as well because they're so connected to it, and that's exciting.
Jonathan Rieger, I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. For all three of you, what have you found to be the best way for you to find fresh faces and audition talent that you hadn't known previously?
Going to theater. We all try to go to New York. Sharon goes several times a year usually.
But I think we've also introduced our young staff. It's
Yeah.
not just us. We have 3 assistants in the office, and we've really pushed them to go to local theater, and they've been going, and not just the Taper or the Almond.
Comedy clubs too.
Yeah.
I mean, the comedy players, the sketch players, they're good at the at the drama and vice versa. I think that I think what we're all really proud of is who are typically known for comedy, we see for drama. Who are typically known for drama, we see for comedy. It ignites something inside of us when it works, and when they get cast, it's very exciting. But I like, the old traditional ways. I like to actually, and this really does happen. We put out a breakdown for a said show, whatever. I'll use The Walking Dead because it's, a little crazy. We can't put out really what the character is, and really, it's very, very blanket. And we will sometimes get, and I am not kidding you, 5,000, 7,500 submissions through breakdown online. And we will go through every page. We do not pick agencies. We do not pick managers and just click on whatever we're clicking on. We go through, and it's just about what
People don't
pops.
believe us because
don't believe us.
I've been on a panel with other casting directors who said if they tell you they go through all the submissions, they don't. We do. We split it up. Sometimes I say, you take the first 2,500, you take the next 2,500, and I'll
or
take
we
the
pick
next
roles.
2,500.
I'll do this role, you
Right.
do that role. But
I
it's,
always get people over 55. That's my
why I
area.
will never go on Pinterest, because whatever you're looking for, it never fucking ends. But if you're on the breakdown, there's 25 pages. I can get to those 25 pages and through all of them.
And I think it's important to us. We always, for pretty much every role, we'll try to bring in a few people that we don't know, have never met, to see if.
Yeah, and we often get agents at the bigger agencies complaining, we know you're seeing people, but you haven't seen any of our people. And we're like, well, we don't know those people. We want to
already know
meet
your
them.
people.
We know your people. And we know they may not be right. So I think that's been exciting for us, is really I can't think of a role where we haven't brought in a person we didn't know.
I love that. Okay, from Andrew Boyle. How much can you / will you push for a greater diversity and inclusion in season 2? Now, I find this a really interesting question because you talked about how, it really was sort of a blank slate, and you did bring diversity into the cast in season 1. Especially, I don't know if you all know this, but in the book, there is more of an emphasis on the racist aspect of the society, and that they are sort of white worshipping patriarchal men. And Bruce Miller has said that in season 2 they are going to get more into race, and that it will get some real attention in season 2. It's not going to be colorblind the way that it was in season 1. So how has that informed your casting decisions for season 2? Has that come into play? Has it been discussed moving forward?
We're all sitting here trying to think of what we're allowed to say.
We're allowed to say because we signed an NDA.
I think when the issue of race is brought up, then you have to pay attention to race in the casting. When it's a scene or an episode where there's no, where race isn't an issue, they have and we have been completely colorblind. So even to the point where well, I don't want to put any networks down, but I have heard through my career, well, there's already 3 black people in that scene. Okay, I'll write the book one day when I retire. We have, because I'll never work again
in Martha's Vineyard.
Right. But we never hear that on this show. ever, and it's such joy. It's joyful. You know, there have been a couple issues where they want a particular race because they're speaking about it, and it's in the storyline.
I believe in the book Moira was white.
Moira is
Yes?
white, yeah.
Right. Which
At most, the book is really white.
Right.
I mean,
Samira Wiley
she's
is
white.
so perfect for that role, right? And also, of course, that's a whole added layer of oppression that she's facing in the society. So,
in addition to her being gay. So
right,
she's
exactly.
really got it all that she has to deal with. And
exactly.
yeah.
I guess we went through this one a little bit. From Laureen, how much do you take into account an actor's social media when you're looking into possibly casting someone? Does it even matter?
No.
Nope.
No.
In fact, if anybody calls me to say, well, you know they have X amount of followers, I literally I stop them and I interrupt and I don't let them finish and I say, I don't give a fuck how many followers they have. I'm sorry. Sorry. It infuriates all of us. It's not how we operate. There are shows out there are people out there that are getting what I think is they're getting it from somewhere. I can't imagine anybody wanting to be creative and thinking, ooh, they have this many followers. So I don't, to each their own, but that is something that we just do not ever consider.
Do you ever go on social media to get a better sense of what kind of person they are or their character? No. That doesn't matter. No. Okay.
I go on social media sometimes because I follow Seth Meyers and I'll,
right.
troll things. And a lot of times an actor on Twitter will, say something to me, here's my reel. If there's time, sometimes I'll look through it. I think in the past 5 years, I set up one actor through something they submitted on Twitter because it was such a specific role. And, I said, just send him a self-tape request. Does it, so I would counsel people not to send Facebook messages to casting directors. Twitter is a completely public thing. You can do whatever you want, but I don't think that's the venue for it. But
I think the one thing I do use it for is if there is an actor and there is a question from the producers, if we're really fighting for somebody, if there is a particular essence that they're looking for, look that they're looking for, and they're not sure if they have seen it, I'll use social media to sort of Google them to see if there's a photograph somewhere, which sometimes will lead me to their Instagram, and I'll say, see, you know what, I think she is a blonde, she could do this, and she could carry this off if you wanted to dye her hair, that sort of thing. But yeah, no.
Okay, from Michaela Campbell, how likely is a casting office to take a chance on seeing new talent for leading roles when casting a new series? I feel like with you guys,
I think we answered
very
that.
often.
Yeah. I mean, we do.
Yeah.
So.
We're running out of time. The one thing that I wanted to ask you about is, which I know you've signed NDAs, but as fans of the show, we have been told that in the first scene of season 2, something happens that we would never possibly guess in a million years. Elizabeth Moss has said this. So I
love my job. I'm not saying shit.
I was just going to ask what your face was like, what your expression was when you read that first scene. Like, what was your initial reaction?
I called Sherry. I said, say what? Did you read this?
Yeah. Well, what's funny is we have a suite. Our office is a suite. So Russell and Gohar are in an office. Sharon and I are in an office, and Stacia and Alyssa are in an office, and Katie and Anna are in an office. Not everybody works on The Handmaid's Tale, but the ones of us that do, when the scripts come in, you can hear
Shrieking.
who starts reading it first because you just hear, oh my God. What? Oh my God. And then the other one starts and you're like, oh shit. Oh God. No. You guys, I mean, it's just this hysterical sort of domino effect of what is happening. It's extremely emotional, and there is no joke. When we are in the audition room, you're crying.
And they kind of covered season 1, the entire book in season 1, and so season 2 is an entirely new story, and it does not disappoint.
I would say even us as fans had a concern that, wow, the book is done, will it keep our interest, will they keep surprising us. Will the level stay that high? And they haven't released the trailer yet. Did they just do that at the TSAs? I got to see the trailer for season 2, and I was like, wow. These
To pause,
guys
and get up and
know
walk
what they're
around
doing.
and pause, and yeah.
I feel like I need anxiety medication when I'm watching this show. Like, even in the other room, I'm just listening to the music, and I was like, it evokes so many intense emotions. Just the soundtrack alone.
I think, isn't it great to like watch and
Yes.
feel something?
Yes.
Like, so there are times we watch TV to chill out and relax and not think, but I think it's so great to watch it and really feel something. Like Russell and Sherry, they watch some stuff that relaxes them, and I'm going, are you kidding me? You watch that? But
Yes, we do.
that's one reason for entertainment.
I also feel like, for fans of the book, again, this book came out in 1985, and astonishingly enough, it's now the #1 book on Amazon this year because of this show.
And if you
But I
haven't
feel like
read
you've-
the book, it's fantastic, and it's still valuable to read even after watching the show.
But for fans of the book, I mean, they've been waiting so long to find out the resolution of that cliffhanger because the book ended with the same cliffhanger that we saw on the show. That she gets in the van and you're not quite sure where she's going and whether she's being rescued or going somewhere not so great. So we finally get the resolution of that when season 2 starts, and it's starting in April. There's no exact date yet, but we're getting there, guys. Right? It's pretty soon. So because we're in a room full of actors, I think the last thing I wanted you guys to talk about is just any advice, like just words of wisdom, final takeaway.
Get Sharon Bialy's book on auditioning. What's it called? How to Audition on Camera. Seriously, it's really great.
Yeah. And I'm a very slow reader, and it's a really quick read with lots of great information in it.
My advice is just to keep loving what you do. Once you stop loving it, walk away, because it is the hardest. What we do is so easy. I mean, for me to get behind the camera the way you guys, I'm behind the camera. To me, to get in front of the camera, it's vulnerable. It's difficult. The rejection happens over and over and over, even when you do really good work, because we can only hire one person. So make sure you love being in the room. Make sure you love being in acting class, because I think that's the way you stick with it and find happiness from it and success.
Cranston always said, and it was a video that circulated at one point, and I don't remember where it came from or when he did it, if it was before Breaking Bad, after Breaking Bad, but he said, if you want to be an actor, then go act. It doesn't mean you have to be in front of a camera. It doesn't mean that you have to be on a stage. If you want to be an actor, then go and act. So I think that's, I mean, it's, if you want to be famous, then go be on a reality show. If you want to be an actor, then be an actor.
Well, thank you so much for being here tonight, and I want to say
Thank you, Kristin.
Vote for the Handmaid's Tale.
And thank you for all the incredible television that you have been behind. Thank you.
Thank you, you guys.